I guess I'll mention this first, just right off the bat. This is an easy thing to talk about. There is recently released a new machine learning library that was put out I think this week. It's called the Raiders of the Lost Keck. 3.5 years of augmented 4chan posts from the politically incorrect board. This is millions. I want to say they say specifically how much. I want to say it's like 7 million posts. I'm not sure exactly how many millions of posts, but they've basically downloaded every post made from Poll since 2016, and they have made a machine learning model from those posts. So when you're on 4chan, I want you to know that there is a non-zero chance that whoever you're replying to, whoever you're talking to, is probably not real. I genuinely believe that that board in particular is completely and totally subverted and co-opted, and the people on it are not real. Because I can't say everything that I want to all the time on the forum. If I don't want people like prying into my shit. So sometimes I would like to post anonymously, and I cannot, because when I look at 4chan, I try to find like a thread to post in about an issue that I have. Like I'll go to the for instance, just as a general explanation, I went to the threads that Poll had on the recent shooting in Texas, and every single thread that I looked at had 100+ posts just posting pictures of the kids that had been killed and rating them 1 out of 10, X out of 10 for each kid, like how sexy they are to the people posting. And I'm looking at this and thinking, like, I can't post here anymore. I don't know when, like, the tone of because I remember back in the day, like on B, when I was like a teenager, there was always like pedo bear jokes, but it felt like a joke, and now it no longer feels like a joke. It just feels like that the people in 4chan have stayed consistent for a very long time, and the people that were kids on 4chan making pedo bear jokes when they were teenagers on B have now become adults, and many of them are mentally ill pedophiles, and they just post about how they want to fuck kids, and it's like, okay, well, this is clearly not my crowd. I have grown out of this. And it sucks, which is why I'm stuck on this hard line with the forum. And I'll talk about this later when I have a more concrete plan in mind. But I really want to both grow the off-topic boards so that I can actually use my own site and talk about things I want to more often when they're off-topic. And I want to keep those people out of my community. So it's like I don't want to suffer the 8chan problem where it's like, oh, we're a free speech community, everyone gather around and have fun in our free speech community, and then you get people that are like too retarded for 4chan to come over and just ruin your community. So I'm trying to strike a balance between opening the gates enough that I can get people who I want to talk to on without also getting the retards. And I realize that this is a common issue that every community has faced, but this year in particular, it has felt very, very pressing. The most recent users are just awful. So, which is why registrations have been closed all month. And I've complained about this a couple times this year, but it's just something on my mind, and this is what I'm thinking about. I'll save that for a bit, actually. Since I mentioned it, I should point out that this is the chat. Let me refresh it. Connecting to Sneed chat, connected, and then here is the chat from, I don't know if people are saying offensive things already. I have managed to get the chat that I showed off last week plugged into the new chat, and it works, and it's very rewarding to put effort into something, hours a week, and then plug it in and see people using it. Not everyone's appreciative of my efforts, though, because the new chat is feature lacking. And that's in part because it's a completely different software. So now that it's running on Sneed Chat, I'm going to have to take the time. As you can see here, I've already taken a lot of time to work on it just in the last week and get the parsing and stuff plugged in. And I have a note to add to that. But before, I want to wait for a couple more people to get in before I bring up my next topic, which I feel is important. I want everybody to hear it. This is Bernie Gore's which I didn't even realize. I've heard the name Bernie Gores 1,000 times, and I was never notified until I read this article that Bernie Gores is a racial slur when spoken aloud. Bernie Gores. That did not occur to me. That's so subtle, and it doesn't really work, but apparently the intention is racist in and of itself, so that's what matters to journalists. I was led to believe that this article that the New York Times was supposed to be about wings, but it's really not. This is more about, like, don't believe everything you read about this man in this photo. A picture of Jordy Jordan, an online gamer, has been attached to a fake name in numerous bogus reports of his death, including from mass shootings in Uvalde, Texas. And they're all saying, like, oh, this is so terrible and so tragic that, like, people are falling for fake news. But the real issue is that, like with Sam Hyde, actual journalists are retweeting that Bernie Gores was a CNN journalist who died in Ukraine reporting on the news. So, like, I'm sorry that you can't do your fucking job. I'm sorry that journalists who are paid to, like, take information and then review it and verify it and then publish it are literally incapable of figuring out that this man was not put into the front lines of a fucking war zone by CNN. And what should really tip people off about the fact that this man does not work for CNN and is not in a war zone, besides him being Wings of Redemption and being fat and obviously not anywhere near a physical activity, is that CNN doesn't do any reporting. And people don't know this. There are very few companies that do actual journalism anymore. There's, like, you have, the Washington Post and all these other companies, and they push news, but they buy their news from AP and Reuters or Reuters. They no actual, like, Washington Post and CNN and ABC and yada yada. These companies do not do news reporting. They all buy their stories in the round robin. So they get, like, the way that it works is that they're put onto the list. They buy the news stories, and then which article gets it an hour ahead of everybody else is determined by round robin. So they go around the table and it's like, oh, CNN gets this story first this time, and then Washington Post gets this story this time, and it goes around and around. Fox News, it gets this one an hour ahead, and that's how the news is done. They don't act. CNN does not have a reporter in Ukraine. AP does. Reuters probably does. CNN, I really doubt it. All these media companies do is churn out bullshit, and they sometimes copy paste a story from AP, which is why there's stories about how they're going to just use machine learning to write articles these days. Like, we don't need a Tiffany Sue to write this article. You just take the talking points, and then it can generate it from that, like, off a couple sentences. So, because they always, like, fill in the thing, like, Ukraine is a country that's west of Russia and east of Romania. It touches the Black Sea. Like, you have to add that bullshit in, and machines can do this. You will be replaced before the mechanic will be replaced. Tiffany Sue, you fucker. Okay, and then before I get to the thing that I want to talk about, here is what happened to Yandere Dev. I did not do a stream on him, but I did talk about him for an hour, like, a couple years ago. And it's hard to do, like, any updates on Yandere Dev because he doesn't do anything. Like, the joke is that he's been working on this fucking game, which has had no progress in, like, 8 years now, and he still gets, like, $10,000 a month from idiot fans on Patreon. But he has now become a VTuber. And these are the kinds of things that he does as a VTuber. He does, like, cameos, where he says something in, like, his Yandere Dev developer voice while also VTubing.
Bitch wanna talk shit but won't say it to my motherfucking face. If I see you in the streets, I'm beating yo ass. That's on period.
It's just the worst thing. Just the worst thing ever.
Hey girl, happy birthday. Another day, another sleigh. Yas, queen.
This is what he does for money now. I'll play this one too, because he has a gun.
Okay, look, Vaughn. Every time I do my VTuber thing, you always gotta make some little comment. Like, oh, there he goes again. Or, oh, he's having too much fun with that. Well, you know what? I'm not going to take it anymore. From now on, when you say that shit, I'm just going to paint the walls with your brains, okay, buddy? Stop saying that shit. It pisses me off.
VTubers were a mistake, and that's not a surprise to anyone. They've been a mistake for a long time, but now you see what has happened. As time goes on, it just becomes an even bigger mistake. All right, now before I progress into the actual story, let me give my spiel. I am not Alex Jones, so I'm not like shilling this as like a product. I am being genuine here. I started working on Sneed 4 again about 4 weeks ago. And then I felt bad, and that's why I stopped. And I still felt bad coding. I thought, you know what? I should take vitamins. Maybe that will help. And it has helped. It has helped immensely. And I know a lot of you people are like depressives who watch anime and you're just a sad sack piece of shit. So I'm going to give you what has worked for me, okay? This is called vitamin D. And I have picked a random brand. I have picked this brand because they ship to Israel. And this is like an Israeli brand. I have no experience with BioVia. You need to take vitamin D. I am pretty sure that if you take 4 to 5,000 international units or 100 to 125 micrograms of vitamin D, you will feel much better. And you should also take K2 to 100 to 200 micrograms because vitamin D will rot your bones because it's like slightly toxic. But if you have K2, you'll absorb calcium better. So do your own research and buy vitamin D. I am pretty sure it is helping. And just to give you a full list in case it's not vitamin D, I take a general multivitamin, which is highly recommended. I take omega-3, which is like fish oil. I take vitamin D3. I'm adding K2. I take magnesium, and I take zinc and selenium, which is something for immune health. And people also say that it increases your testosterone, so that could also be helping. I'm not entirely sure. But no, after I started taking vitamin D3, I felt a lot better. So to all you people who are like depressives, and you're like, oh no, I can't do anything because I'm so sad today, you should probably take vitamin D because it worked for me. And I have no affiliation with BioVia, and I don't know if they're any good. This could be pure poison. I don't know. You should find your own brands. I would recommend, however, if you are going to go out and buy a bunch of vitamins, buy them from countries that have regulations. Do not buy American brands because America does not have any oversight on supplements at all. It basically is non-existent. And they've proven that like all the fish oil sold in the U.S. is like rancid. And that doesn't work. So if you're going to buy vitamins, do your own research into the brand and preferably buy from a country like Australia or Germany where they have really strong consumer protection laws about supplements, because otherwise there's not going to be any kind of actual consumer testing, quality control. Anyways, that's my vitamin spiel, just for all you depressives. I'm looking out for you. I'm taking over internet daddy reigns after this episode, I guess.